Hi all, welcome to a new video. In this video, I am going to discuss a topic called communication. Communication is a major topic which comes under any discussions related to language. So, through this video, I am here to discuss some of the basic elements, some of the basic things related to communication. In the first part of my discussion, I will be discussing what is actually communication, or let us try to define what is communication. And then we will be moving to different elements involved in communication, elements of communication. And in the last section, we will be discussing what the types of communication, different types of communication, in which I will be concentrating on formal and informal types of communication. So I once again welcome all of you to this video. So let's move to the first section. Let us try to define what is communication. So look at the slide. I have given a very short definition of communication. Communication is actually a process of conveying, exchanging messages from one person to another person. Okay. Once again, communication is a process of conveying or exchanging messages from one person to another person. These messages may be facts, information, idea, attitude, sometimes emotions or opinion. These things are conveyed from one person to another person. That is the definition, a simple definition of communication. Or in a broader sense, let us define communication as communication is a process of exchanging information, idea, thoughts, or feelings between individuals or group, and it involves the transmission and reception of messages through various channels such as verbal, written languages, gestures, body language, facial expression, and other forms of expression. This is a broader definition. So let me define once again in a simple way. Definition, look at this. It's a process of conveying or exchanging messages from one person to another person. So communication is actually a most vital thing in human life. Not only in human life, but in all types of creatures. In all creatures, communication occurs. Without communication, human beings can't exist. So communication is very important. It's vital thing in human life. Now, let us before we move to the elements of communication, let us just go through the etymology of communication. What is etymology? Etymology is actually the study of how a particular word is originated or evolved. Okay, here we have related to communication. There are different theories how that particular word is originated. Some people say the word communications originated from Latin word communicare, which means common. And there are some other view. Some people say the word is originated from French word communis. Okay. Anyway, now, so hope the definition is clear to you. Now let's move to the elements of communication. What are the elements involved in communication? What are the basic elements of communication? So as you can see from this slide, there are certain elements like sender, message, receiver, channel, noise, and feedback. These are the basic elements which are involved in communication. let us discuss one by one. Who is a sender? What is sender? Who is a sender? What is message? What is actually channel, receiver, noise, feedback? These things actually contribute to successful communication. So who is sender, or what is sender in the context of communication? Sender is actually an individual or an entity who initiates the process of communication, and center creates and sends the message. Okay, so center may be an individual or it may be an entity which initiate the process of communication, and by creating and sending a message. Center, in a simple way, center is the sender, someone who sends the message, and the center is responsible for encoding the message. So we have to know the verb, what is encoding. Center, otherwise known as encoder. So in order to understand what is encoder, we should know the verb encoding. What is encoding? Encoding is a process of converting our thoughts, ideas, or information into a form that can be communicated, such as words, symbols, gestures. അതായത് കമ്മ്യൂണിക്കേറ്റ് ചെയ്യപ്പെടാവുന്ന രൂപത്തിൽ ഐഡിയാസിനെയും ഇൻഫോർമേഷൻസിനെയും വാക്കുകളായിട്ടും സിമ്പിൾസായിട്ടും ജസ്റ്റേഴ്സ് ആക്കിയിട്ടും മാറ്റുന്ന ആ ഒരു പ്രോസസ്സിനെയാണ് നമ്മൾ എൻകോഡിങ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. അത് ചെയ്യുന്ന ആളെയാണ് നമ്മൾ എൻകോഡർ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. സോ ഇൻ ദ പ്രോസസ് ഓഫ് കമ്മ്യൂണിക്കേഷൻ, സെൻഡർ ഈസ് ദ എൻകോഡർ ഹു എൻകോഡ്സ് ദ മെസ്സേജ്. എൻകോഡ്സ് മീൻസ് who actually convert thoughts, ideas, or information into a form that can be communicated, such as words, gestures, symbols, etc. Okay, so center is a person who sends the message. Now receiver. Who is a receiver? Of course, an individual or group for whom the message is intended. For whom the message is intended. ആരെ ഉദ്ദേശിച്ചാണോ നമ്മൾ മെസ്സേജ് അയക്കുന്നത്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആരാണോ ഈ മെസ്സേജ് സ്വീകരിക്കുന്നത്, അവരെയാണ് നമ്മൾ എന്ത് പറയുന്നത്? റിസീവർ. സോ എ റിസീവർ ആക്ച്വലി decodes the message. So what is decoding? Decoding is a process by which the receiver interprets or understands the message. Okay, what is decoding? Decoding is a process by which the receiver understands or interprets the message. So a receiver is otherwise known as decoder. Okay, these are two basic elements. We need a sender, of course we need a receiver. Now in order to make the process communication, we need some other thing, that is message. So what is a message? What is a message, which I have explained in my previous slide? A message is actually maybe an information or idea or emotion or any content that the sender wants to convey. It may be anything. It may be an information or emotion or any content that the sender wants to convey. And it can be in the form of verbal means something related to language. Verbal, maybe it may be verbal messages, written messages, or non-verbal communication, non-verbal messages also. Non-verbal means other than language, something using our gestures, body language, etc. So that is message. Message may be information, idea, or emotion that the sender wants to convey. So we have discussed what is sender, who is a sender, and who is receiver. Sender is otherwise known as encoder. Receiver is otherwise known as decoder. And we need a message. And of course, the fourth element is channel. Channel, what is channel? Channel is actually medium, or we can say method through which the message is transmitted from sender to receiver. Once again, channel is actually a medium, or we can say it's a method through which the message is conveyed or transmitted from sender to receiver. And channel can be face-to-face conversation, or maybe a written document. Sometimes it may be an email, phone calls, or other communication tools. Whatever it may be, it's a medium, or it's a method through which message is transmitted from one person to another, from sender to the receiver. Now, what is the other element? Yes, of course, feedback. What is feedback? Feedback, in a simple way, we can say it is actually the response or reaction from the receiver to the sender's message. It is actually the reaction of the receiver. Okay, and what is the use of feedback? Feedback helps the sender to assess the effectiveness of communication, and of course it allows for clarification or adjustments of the message. Okay, for example, if I try to convey some messages to you, and you are giving me feedback that the message is not clear, that's a feedback to me, and based on that feedback I will be adjusting, I will be conveying that message in a different way. So a feedback is useful in the process of communication. In order to, for in what sense? By getting feedback, proper feedback, the center can make assessment whether the communication is properly reached to the receiver, or if there any clarification is needed. These are the things which are provided. These things can be accessed through the feedback. So feedback is actually the response, or the what we call the reaction of the receiver to the center. Okay, now one more thing is that what is noise? So what is a noise in the context of communication? Noise can be any type of interferences, or barriers or hindrances that may distort or disrupt the communication process. കമ്മ്യൂണിക്കേഷൻ പ്രോസസ്സിനെ ഡിസ്റ്റോർട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്ന അല്ലെങ്കിൽ പ്രിവെൻറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ബാരിയറായിട്ട് നിലകൊള്ളുന്ന എല്ലാത്തിനെയും നമുക്ക് എന്ത് പറയാം? വി ക്യാൻ സേ നോയ്സ്. ആൻഡ് നോയ്സ് ക്യാൻ ബി എക്സ്റ്റേർണൽ or internal. For example, if I am taking class in a classroom, some noises are some noise is coming from outside. So that type of loud background sound. So such noise can be termed as external noise. Sometimes noise can be internal. For example, preconceived notions, biases. These are internal noises. So noises can be anything that prevent or what we call prevent or interferences or distort the communication process. Okay, so these are the basic elements involved in communication. So once again, let me summarize the things. Who is a sender? Sender is the person who sends or encode the message. And who is a receiver? A receiver is a person who receives the message, or one who decode the message. And of course, in order to the other element is message. Message is actually, what is message? Message can be an idea or information or anything that the sender wants to communicate. And channel, which is the channel? Channel is actually medium. or method of communication, which may be verbal, related to language, non-verbal, like body language, gestures, facial expressions, everything. So channel is the medium of communication. Another thing, feedback is response from the receiver. Okay. Now noise can be defined as anything which becomes as a barrier, which actually make distortions to the process of communication, can be termed as noise can be internal, noise can be external. Internal noises are just like biases, biases in this from the side of the receiver and from the sides of the sender, can act as internal noises. Okay. Now another aspect, certain key factors in the process of communication. Communication is a cooperative activity in which two persons are involved. Of course, as I told you, there should be a sender and there should be a receiver. So it should be a cooperative activity. Sender should be ready to send. A sender should be sender should have readiness to send the message to the receiver, and of course receiver should be ready to receive the message. It's a cooperative activity, or we can say it's a two-way process. Sender should be ready to convey the message and the listener should be ready to listen the message. So it's a cooperative activity, and at the same time it's a two-way process. And as I said earlier, sender encode the message and receiver should decode the message. Now another factor, as I said, noise is something obscure or confuses the signal carried. Signal carried means the message. Noise is something which prevent the signal carried, prevent the the message. Now response is also very important. Response means feedback is also very important. That is, it impact. Feedback, it's actually, it indicate the impact of the communication. Now message can be carried verbally, in writing, or using signs, gestures, symbols, or combination of all these. Body language, expressions, everything contribute to these messages. Now this is a short representation of communication process which I explained which I've already explained. Now moving to the last section, formal and informal communication. First one, formal communication. What is formal communication? Here, look at the slide. Formal communication is communication which occurs in an official or recognized communication system which is involved in operation of an organization. What is formal communication? Is formal and informal communication are actually two main types of communication, and which differ in their structure, in their purpose, channel used. Okay, so in formal communication, it is actually in an official system or recognized communication system which is involved in operation of an organization. Now, what is informal communication? Informal communication is, of course, it is spontaneous, informal language is used, no particular agenda, or often oral or through informal media. Okay, let me go to the details of formal and informal communication. So, informal communication, of course, formal communication is more structured. What is structured? Structured means formal communications follow a what we call a predefined structure, and it has some rules, and it actually uh, adheres to what we call an established organizational um, hierarchies, and of course procedures. And of course formal communication always occur in a very formal and systematic way, and of course official channels are used for communication, and of course our language should be very sophisticated, professional tone should be used, and actually formal communication, all the formal communication, we are doing formal communication in a purposeful manner. What is purposeful? Formal communication is often used in official work related or business purpose, and of course it is pre-planned communication. Language should be very much sophisticated. We should not use colloquial language. For example, when students communicate with their teachers, of course, with their principal, of course, that communication is a formal communication. So think about when students communicate with their, for example, HOD, head of the department, their language should be very much polished, sophisticated, and moreover, there will be pre-planned communication, and it will be in a structured manner. Official channels are used in while the students are communicating with the teachers, with the with the head of the department, etc. And what about the informal communication? Of course, just opposite of formal communication. It should be completely unstructured. There won't be any plan. Think about the situation in which you are talking to your parents or talking to your friends. There won't be any pre-planning before you communicate with your friends. It just flows. Okay, it doesn't have any structure. It is completely unstructured. So informal communication is less structured and does not follow strict rules. It's actually spontaneous. Okay, and it can occur anywhere within an organization. Clear? And we use casual channels. In the formal communication we use official channels, like we if we want to take leave, we have to write in the form of a letter. Sometimes in the formal communication there use what memos are used, reports are used, such things. But in casual in informal communication, casual channels are used, like what we call just messaging, or just such things, spontaneous, and there is no pre-plan. Okay, now what about the tone? In the formal communication, tone will be very professional, that is language should be very professional, sophisticated language. But in what we call the informal communication, personal tone. Okay, language should not be very much structured. We can use colloquial language. Informal communication tends to have more relaxed and personal tone is there. It may include slang, humor, as I said, may include colloquial expressions. Okay, so these are the main difference between formal and informal. Look at the slide. In the box formal, I have written scheduled in advance, that is pre-planned everything, arranged participants enroll, present agenda, one way in, and these are the things which I have already explained. And of course in informal it is unstructured, it is using casual channels, and of course personal tone is preferred, colloquial expressions are used, slangs are used, humor is used. Okay, no, these are the main differences in between formal and informal communication. Again, here is a detailed analysis, detailed comparison between formal and informal comparison, communication origin. In formal communication, it is deliberately structured. In informal communication, it's spontaneous and unstructured. And what about the nature? Informal communication is well planned, systematic, authorized. And what about informal communication? The nature is unplanned, unsystematic, and unauthorized. And what about the flow? In formal communication, prescribed through chain of command, but in informal communication, it is unofficial channels. It's not prescribed. And what about the flexibility? Formal communication is very rigid, but informal is very flexible. And taking authority, official channels are used. In the other one, in informal communication, it is clearly unofficial. And regarding purpose, to achieve business objective. Formal communications are used to achieve business objective, but in informal communication, the purpose is mainly to satisfy personal needs. And coming to the speed, informal communication, time taking, or we will make some plan. We will be very much bothered about our language, and very much bothered about our body language expression. So it is a time taking process. But the other one, as it is very spontaneous, it is very fast. We don't have any plan. It is just flowing. Okay, now what about the accuracy? In formal communication, it should be accurate, legal, and authentic. Informal communication, it is often distorted. Maybe some rumors and gossips may be involved in informal communication. Think about the situation in which you are communicating, in which you are engaging with your friends in your classroom. Of course, there will be different types of rumors, gossips, and many distortions will be there in your communication. Then think about the form. Of course, in formal communication, both oral and written forms used. And of course, the oral, whether it is oral or written communication, in the formal situation, very sophisticated, very polished language should be used. But in the other one, it is usually oral communication. We never communicate with our parents in the form of an official letter. No, we never do that. So it's usually we communicate with parents or friends with in an oral way. Now, about the source? Source can be traced but cannot be traced. Source of our communication, as I said, is very planned, so it can be traced, but the source of informal communication cannot be traced. And here again, a comparison is given, which is actually an explanation which I've already given. So you just go through the picture which I have given in the video, and by this I am ending this video. So let me summarize what I have explained through this video. I have given you a definition of communication, what is actually the mean by the process communication, and then we discussed different elements involved in communication, and in the last part we discussed the difference between formal and informal communication. Formal communication occurs in a formal situation, formal setup, and informal communication, of course, in an informal background. Okay, and what are the language specialities, how the language is used in formal and informal language, and informal situation, etc., that we discussed. So once again, I thank you all of you for watching this video. Okay, bye.